and welcome to Boca Strong. I'm Rochelle Lecavalier. This is a series brought to you in the wake of these unusual and unprecedented times that we find ourselves navigating through. We're choosing to highlight stories of resilient and inspiring leaders in our Boca Raton community. Today I'm here at Boca Helping Hands with Greg Hazle to talk about how this local charity is weathering the storm. Greg?
Hey, Rochelle, how are you? Nice to see you.
Great. Nice to see you, too.
Right.
Notice we're,
properly distancing.
Properly distancing, right. That's right. And we're here in the Boca Helping Hands warehouse today, which is much quieter than usual.
Yes. Mondays is normally a quiet day for us, but beginning tomorrow, hopefully we'll start to see food coming in from some of our food banks and other food recovery partners.
Great. And for our friends in Boca and beyond who don't know of the work that Boca Helping Hands does, why don't you share with us a couple of the key programs?
Sure. It's probably easier to speak in terms of the causes that Boca Helping Hands serves, otherwise we could be here for a long time. But one of the distinguishing features of Boca Helping Hands is just how diverse our services are. And we serve a number of children's causes. We provide lunches on weekends to kids in our, what we call our BHH backpack program, in which we serve 12 local elementary schools and provide backpacks for kids on weekends. We also assist working parents in the Boca Raton community in paying the cost of childcare. We have a number of job training programs in which we are helping people who are either unemployed or underemployed to equip themselves to advance in the workplace. We have relationships with healthcare providers in which we provide access to affordable health care for people who are uninsured or underinsured. And finally, we, kind of where we began is with feeding programs. And what this particular crisis has kind of allowed us to do is to revert to that as our primary activity right now. We're finding that this is what is in greatest demand now, our hot meal and pantry bag distribution programs. Continue in a different form than they used to, but that kind of summarizes the many areas in which Boca Helping Hands is trying to serve our community.
Yes. And I think for many people, Boca is seen as this very affluent community, and maybe people assume that, there aren't people who have financial needs and, that are food insecure. Mm-hmm. I know we've talked about that on a number of occasions.
Yes.
The one program that Boca Helping Hands does that's closest to my heart, of course, as you know, is the Backpacks program.
Right.
So it's something like 60% of our kids in elementary school are not having enough to eat on the weekend.
Correct.
And so the program is where, for the people at home who aren't familiar with this program, it's so close to my heart, they send these children home on the weekend with enough food to sustain them for the weekend.
Right.
And that was going to be the core fundraise of our Monopoly Night, our annual fundraiser this year.
Exactly.
Which, of course, now we're going to be shifting gears.
The backpack program is kind of a tearjerker because it sometimes
it gets me.
Right. It takes people by surprise to know that there are so many kids in our community.
Yes.
Of country clubs and gated communities.
Yes.
Who are going to bed hungry. And like you said, 60% of the kids in our local schools qualify for free or subsidized meals at school. So obviously when they go home on weekends, many of them actually end up going to bed hungry. Related to that, during this crisis, obviously with the closure of the schools, a number of agencies have kind of stepped into the gap of providing support to kids.
Fantastic.
And so even though we can't logistically continue the backpack program, what we've been doing is supporting some of those agencies. So the Boys and Girls Club, the Achievement Centers, we've been providing some of the food that we would normally provide through our backpack program to their feeding programs.
Teamwork.
Yeah,
Community-wide. We're
exactly.
seeing more, I think more people are watching a show like this. They're interested in what's going on and what can they do. Particularly, people are at home, they have more time on their hands to sort of think about things, beyond their go
right.
of the day-to-day.
Well, there are upsides and downsides to social distancing.
That's absolutely true.
Right. In the middle of social distancing, we realize just how connected we all are.
Yes.
Sometimes to our detriment.
Yes.
As we've seen with the infection rate, but quite often, to our mutual benefit. And so we are seeing people step up and wanting to collaborate to meet the needs of those who are particularly affected by this crisis. It's a positive thing to see the community come together when they're most needed.
Yes, we're using the phrase socially distancing
Right.
while staying emotionally connected.
I like that.
I think it's key right now.
I like that.
I believe I read somewhere that the average American family cannot withstand an unplanned for expense in excess of $400.
Right.
Like that would be financially devastating
Right.
to the average American family.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the profile of the people who come in for our help has changed over the time that I've been involved with Boca Helping Hands. It used to be that the main driver of need was your employment status. If you were unemployed, you needed help. Now we're finding that people with jobs need help. And so what we really have in our communities is an affordability crisis. Okay, people are working but can't afford to meet basic needs. And so many of our programs are being used as supplements. When you lose that income, as many people are experiencing now, it just compounds the problem that they have to deal with.
It's devastating, potentially.
Yeah.
So I see Boca Helping Hands sort of regrouping, shifting the resources to a program that's very right now, which I think is genius, because as we watch this curve go up and down, hopefully it's a more flat curve, right? But right now, like job training and those sorts of things are like less focused, more it's about day-to-day survival.
Correct.
And then as we come out of this crisis, certainly there's going to be a resurgence for how do I get back into the economy.
Absolutely.
What sorts of programs right now are key, and how are you keeping up with the demand?
Well, the main thing we're doing now is feeding people. And
Yes.
we converted what would normally be a congregate feeding program, which is our daily lunch program, in which close to 200 clients used to come into our building and enjoy our meal, into a purely pickup program, just like
Sure.
what a number of the other restaurants and other people in the food industry are doing. And so as of about 2 weeks ago, we implemented a drive-through program at our facility here in East Boca, in which people are picking up both their pantry bags, which is an assortment of food, again, that supplements people's income, and they're able to pick up also the daily hot lunch that we continue to prepare, but now we're packaging
I see.
in containers for safe distribution.
So Greg, you mentioned your primary function today is feeding people. Are there any community partners or anybody stepping up in a meaningful way?
Well, I have to mention our partners at the Addison. We've worked with the Addison in the past, and we recently had our volunteer appreciation dinner at their beautiful venue. But they've helped us in the past providing meals at Thanksgiving to our clients in Boynton. And their manager called me recently and said, they are really interested in trying to keep their staff employed during this crisis. And one of the things that they've decided to do was to provide prepared meals for the most affected of our clients. And so they have agreed to provide 100 meals per day, which are to be designated specifically for our homebound clients and those people who are walking up to receive our hot lunch.
And the Addison doesn't, they're not taking in any revenue right now.
That's my understanding. This is an act of pure philanthropy.
100 hot meals a day.
Exactly.
Addison, good on you. Good on you. That's really, I'm so touched.
That is really impressive, and something that I've told Zoe Lanham, their general manager, just that she's a rock star in my eyes for helping us in this way.
Well, speaking of rock stars, so we have our annual fundraiser, Monopoly Night, right? A great casino night, a really fun time every year. Last year, you guys, we raised $250,000. Sometimes I talk to my friends. We raised $250,000. I am a volunteer here at Boca Helping Hands, so I'm really like emotional about it.
Right.
And this year, obviously, our biggest fundraiser of the year has been canceled.
Correct.
But there are a couple of sponsors who have not only kept their pledge of sponsorship, so JM Family Enterprises, like, thanks you guys so much, $35,000 for the event.
Yes.
The Pink Palm Group is hanging in there. We have a couple of private citizens who are hanging in there. We're having a live auction. Like, I see a number of charities going to this new style of virtual event, which is going to be very interesting. I don't know how it's going to go, but with these community partners, it's so touching that in this time, clearly JM Family Enterprises is going to, experience some of the economic setbacks that the rest of us are going to, but they're doubling down.
Yeah, there's an old adage, a friend in need is a friend indeed.
Yeah.
So even though these adverse economic circumstances are affecting everybody, it's a great thing to see people step up even when their circumstances are less than ideal, to support the needs of people who are more affected by these circumstances. So I do want to say thanks to all of those sponsors who have maintained their commitment to what would have been our Monopoly event. We are, as you said, planning on giving people a virtual opportunity to participate in a replacement event, which we're still organizing and
yes, I mean, we have some great auction items. I'm going to put everything down in the comments, friends, so you can attend the event, you can bid on live auction items. If you'd like to just write a check to Boca Helping Hands, I'm sure we'd all be really delighted with that as well.
Absolutely.
That would be a really good happening.
Absolutely. It's hopefully going to be shortly, it's going to be around the same date. The Monopoly event was going to be on the 18th. Right now we're contemplating having it either a week after or a couple of weeks after the 18th.
So we'll announce the date.
We'll announce the date. We'll announce, how it will work and how people can sign up and participate in that event.
Fantastic. Great. So any parting words for those who, might be looking for a way to give back?
I'm encouraging anybody who can to provide additional food that they may not need, whether or not it's a restaurant or just a family who has found that they're running out of space in their own refrigerators for the food that they have at home.
So in general, that would be like shelf-stable canned foods, things that can keep for some period of time.
Exactly.
So if you bought too much and you know who you are, load up a bag, bring it down to Boca Helping Hands.
Exactly. Or you can organize a food drive in your community. One of the good things that's happening with the staying at home status is that neighbors are discovering each other.
It's true. I've never seen so many people walking in my neighborhood
Exactly.
Everyone's outside. Of course, we're like, 10 feet apart across the street saying hello to our neighbors.
But
that's a pleasant side effect.
Exactly. But this might be as good a time as any to organize a neighborhood food drive in which, your community gets an opportunity to participate with us in serving people who have been affected. We obviously take checks, and online donations. And the other thing that has affected us is our volunteer workforce is comprised of a lot of elderly people who have been advised, as you know, to be even more cautious about going outside of their homes. So we've actually lost a number of those volunteers that were our regulars. So we are looking for people to help out in volunteering.
So if someone's young and healthy, he or she could get out of the house for a period of time, focus on something else, and come here and volunteer.
Absolutely. And we are obviously following all of the precautions in terms of how we're conducting our operations, in how we are administering our own social distancing in our workplace, and in the way we are taking care of sanitizing our workplace, so people don't have to worry about violating any of those recommendations by volunteering, but we definitely could need their help. Okay.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us, Greg.
It was
Really,
my
it's been a
pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to see you in person.
Thank you very much. Same here.
And to our friends at home, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Boca Strong. Be sure to follow hashtag Boca Strong to continue to see stories of inspiring community leaders as we navigate through this crisis. We're going to call it together, separately but emotionally connected. Stay home, stay safe, and stay 6 feet apart. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, that's great.